First of all, I made it. I made it here. Okay. Can I have a show of hand of how many of you here ever heard the word authenticity? Okay. Now, what does it mean to be an authentic human being? Authenticity means the quality of being real, being original, and being natural. In short, I would put it, the quality of being yourself. The word authenticity reminded us all of being small children. Small children that are living in a world that built up around passion and imagination. I could imagine there's a rocket spaceship, flying off that top over there, the ramp. Okay, so small children, they were full of curiosity and authenticity. But by the time they got into schools, they got into the traditional education system, they were starting to lose their authenticity. How can we allow this to happen? Or how can this happen? Can I get a show of hands once again, and I promise that this will be the last time. How many of you here ever heard of Sir Ken Robinson? Okay. Hi, Mr. Donald. My history teacher right there. So for those who haven't heard of Sir Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson is an author, speaker, and international advisor in education. He was responsible for the most viewed TEDx video on YouTube, and that video was called "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" And now, according to Sir Ken Robinson's education system nowadays, there are a very narrow-minded path for students. Its priority are the standardized testing. It teaches on pre-written curriculum. Scratch that. It teaches based on pre-written curriculum and textbooks. The backbones of modern day's education is the grading systems. Now, it might be true, according to Sir Ken Robinson, that school kills creativity, but at the same time, schools also kills authenticity. It prevented students from becoming authentic learners. Being authentic learning means being passionate and being pressured from within and not having pressure imposed from without. Now, I'm going to share a very personal story with you. It's interesting. It's about my mom. She was born in the province of Battambang here in Cambodia. So back then, my grandparents could not afford my mom's education fees, and they gave her advice that it is okay for my mom not going to school and instead just work. But then my mom didn't take that advice, and she didn't give up. Every weekday, she would find time off from work and would sneak into a school somewhere in Battambang and look through the class window and learn like normal kids. It's sad, but yeah. So the question is, these stories make me wonder, aren't these actions of those who is a truly authentic learner? And then I ask myself a question, what are the differences between my mom and the kids learning inside that classroom? Do you think that those kids who are studying inside that classroom, were they as passionate and curious as my mom who is looking from outside the window? And now I wanted you to imagine. Just imagine, what if my grandparent could actually afford my mom's education fees? Do you think that my mom would have experienced that same passion and desire to know that she experienced from outside the window? Or would she simply take it for granted like many of us students do today? My mom gave me advice and always reminded me that, son, I wanted you to study hard and get good grades. because I never had the opportunities that you have right now. I understood this advice, but then I asked myself a question: why is it so hard for me to follow this advice? Or maybe, why is it so difficult for me, for students like you and me, to follow this advice? There must be a point in our academic life as a student where we would promise ourselves that we would try our best and put 110% effort to get the grades that we wanted, but then fail miserably because we could not be consistent enough and we are not self-motivated enough to hang on. I think this has to do with the nature of the classroom and the traditional education system, or maybe just students today been given learning opportunities, but instead of taking advantage of it, they decided to take it for granted just because those opportunities were being gifted. Now, I mentioned about students not being motivated enough to be consistent in schools. Now, there's two types of motivation. There's extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. I'm about to ask you to raise your hand, but I realized I just promised you that that was the last time. So I'm not going to do it. And so, first, extrinsic motivation. It is a type of motivation that coming from without by external motivator. Example, studying to get good grades, joining the school sports teams for fame and winning medals, doing homework just to get out of trouble. And on the other hand, we have intrinsic motivation. It is a type of motivation that coming from within ourselves, doing activities for its own sake rather than doing it for rewards. Example, studying because you wanted to learn new things, joining the school sports teams because you enjoy playing sports and making new friends, and doing homework just because you wanted to learn more during your free times. The problem with modern day's education is that it has way too much extrinsic motivation, and this reason is mainly coming from the grading system. I want you to listen to this line. If you don't get good grades, good universities will not accept you, and you will not be successful in the future. Does this sound familiar? I think this sounds intimidating because my future is on the line. Let me share one more personal story, and I promise that this will be the last. About 2 months ago, there was a university visit at my current school. It was Gillian and Les Roches, Hospitality University from Switzerland. I had a very wonderful experience. I had the opportunities to meet the representative of the university. I asked, okay, so her name is, the representative was Miss Julie, forgot to mention her. I had the opportunity to answer a question about the dropout rates and the problem within the community where the university is located. And then she told me a very shocking story. She said that the schools would accept you if you fail the IB. She said that this university have experience rejecting a student who got 41 out of 45 in the IB once. 41 out of 45 in the IB program, that's like an A plus student. Or maybe at least an A. There's a lot of point. Reason why he got rejected? First of all, he didn't dress up for his interviews. He was very arrogant. They did ask him a question: why did you decide to come here to this university? What makes us very unique from the rest of the university all around the world? And the answer, was kind of surprising. He replied, "My father sent me." And surprisingly, they ended up accepting a girl who only got 22 out of 45 in the IB program. Reason? Because because she was very passionate in hospitality areas. Now, I feel kind of sad for saying all these stories about my moms. But hey, it's still great having a mom that's an authentic learner, so it's giving me a lot of examples to follow. And finally, first of all, by the way, Guyana Leswatches, I mentioned that it is a hospitality university. I think it is a very weak argument, just because they are hospitality university. But here's my point. Irish university all around the world work like this. Not only accepting students by looking at their grades, but by looking at their personalities, looking at their level of passion and how much their students values learning opportunities. And finally, I wanted you to reflect on how schools uses the grading system. I'll give you time. So, either in alphabet or numbers form, grading system have impacts on students' mindset. The education system and the grading system itself built around extrinsic motivation and drive in chasing perfectionism. Oops, sorry. Ken Robinson once quoted, "If you are not prepared to be wrong, then you will never come up with anything original." And that's the problem. It's spreading fear, the grading system, is spreading fear into the mind of students. They're making them afraid of making academic mistakes. In able to learn, you needed to make mistakes and learn from it and get better at those subjects areas that you're not good at. Like me, I'm a very bad math student. In my schools, there are math high level, math standards level, and math studies. I think I belong in math research that doesn't exist. I think the weakest math program. Okay, and I think it's very unrealistic for schools to get rid of the grading system. But what they can do is to continue nurturing student individuals' passion and motivating them without using grades. Of course, giving them more time to rest, giving less homework, and give them time to find the intrinsic motivation from within them. And this, finally, the message that I want you to take out of this. This will be based on teachers and students. Teachers, please find time for authentic learning with students, and try to avoid using grades to motivate students. And my fellow students, this is important. Please take advantage of learning opportunities. Stop learning for the sake of grades. And instead, learn because you are passionate and curious to know more about the world or the area that you are passionate in. Students, invest in yourself. Thank you very much. Is my dad? Okay.